This video is sponsored by Manscaped. Man, oh man, where have we heard this before? So, out of nowhere, all the insiders on TSN and Sportsnet just decided, hey, let's talk about Eichel again, because we had ourselves a big update, or I don't even know if it's a big update, it's just kind of an update in general as to how exactly the Eichel trade talks are going. Yeah, by the way, Eichel, remember that guy? He's still on the trade block, isn't he? Just in case you've been out of the loop for the past few months, Jack Eichel, second overall pick 2015, take a look at the profile over here, 6'2", 214, he's a center. He is a really good NHL player, making a sizable $10 million AAV contract till 2026. He's got a neck problem, he's got a herniated disc. He wants to get a surgery where he gets that disc replaced, but the Buffalo Sabres, they don't want him to get that surgery. They want him to get a fusion surgery, which would actually make it so that he needs to get more surgeries as his life goes on, pretty much for the rest of his life after he stops playing hockey as well. The problem is, with the surgery that Eichel wants, it's never been done in a physical contact sport athlete before, but we've had so many medical professionals in the Eichel party, outside of the Eichel party, just third-party people in general just saying, yeah, no, just let him get the surgery, but the Buffalo Sabres do not want that to happen. The biggest part about this surgery is that NHL teams just didn't know what was going on. And when it comes to Jack Eichel and his medical records, that was something that was actually proposed by Elliotte Friedman, needs to be publicized to other NHL teams in order for teams to properly assess the situation, give their own input, and decide whether or not they would actually be inclined to still trade for Eichel, bearing all of the stuff going on with his health. Aside from that, there was also the entire aspect of the Sabres not winning and Eichel being a competitive guy and wanting to win. He got stripped of the captaincy earlier in this season, and now we had the trade rumors popping itself back up. The biggest one I'm going to talk about over here, it's by Nick Kyprios. This is a team that apparently is in on the surgery itself. Some teams in the NHL, like the Rangers, who are in on the Eichel talks, have passed the medical issues. It appears the Rangers would support Eichel for the artificial disc replacement surgery that he wants, providing they can actually come to terms on a hockey trade with the Sabres. No indication that they're close on the deal, though, at the Fan 590. So there you go. One team in the mix that is okay on the surgery. Should they make a trade for Jack Eichel, they'd be like, okay, here, do the surgery that you want. Get that disc replacement right here. We're not going to force you to do the fusion surgery, which is the one that the Sabres want you to do. We're going to let you do what you want. We also had a few updates over here from other teams, or not even other teams, other analysts on the air talking about other teams. Darren Dreger on That's Hockey said that there are a few teams that are in the mix for Eichel still. Speculation ranges from the LA Kings, perhaps Anaheim. Both those clubs have downplayed that, though. Social media continues to point at the Rangers, but the Rangers source that I have says no, that's not the case. And before we dive into any of these teams and their specific scenarios over here, it's hard for me to doubt the idea that the Buffalo Sabres are just going out there and starting to slowly seep in those health details to other teams, you know? We had ourselves the entire thing going on earlier on in the offseason where apparently the Sabres were just kind of like a vault, where they wouldn't actually reveal any of the details that other teams were asking for. But, as we had yesterday, an update from Darren Dreger as well, sources say the Eichel saga may be shifting. Ongoing discussions and additional access to Eichel's medical file have helped teams with trade interests clearly see the situation. Both sides are hopeful something can be worked out soon, with one of the clubs in the mix. And so now, you take a look at some of these other teams that are being called out. Maybe these teams have been like, okay, well, we now know what's been going on with Eichel. We've looked at it ourselves. We've shown it to our health professionals over here. Now we have an accurate gauge as to whether or not he would be able to play this year, whether or not he would come back, what our personal plan is for him. Should we actually acquire this kind of guy? Neck fusion surgery, disc replacement, it has to be disc replacement. There's no way Eichel would go to a team that would tell him they wanted to do the fusion surgery, the same one that the Buffalo Sabres wanted him to do, and it's part of the reason why this entire thing is even a problem. But before we go over onto these other teams as well, we had a word from Elliotte Friedman that I wanted to go over here, as well as some more discussion from Jeff Merrick. Let's give some time to our sponsor for today's video. Guess what, fellas? The boys are buzzing because hockey is back. Want to know what else is buzzing? The Lawnmower 4.0 from our friends at Manscaped. They're the global leaders in male grooming, trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Don't get chirped this year for having a Jumbo Joe bush below the waist. Join the Manscaped movement for all of your hairiest grooming needs. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code LEGOROCKS at manscaped.com. This 4th-generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The waterproof trimmer has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch with a travel lock, and a 4,000K LED spotlight. Grab yourself a Lawnmower 4.0 alongside of the Performance Package 4.0, which includes the Weed Whacker, the Nose Hair Trimmer, formulations, and 2 free gifts. It's the perfect package to help you put the D back in your defense. Don't take a penalty below the waist. Playoff beards are meant for your face and not your pants. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code LEGOROCKS at manscaped.com. That is 20% off and free shipping with LEGO Rocks. So the 2 California teams, LA and Anaheim, get called out here, but it's not even just these, because we had ourselves what was Jeff Merrick on the Jeff Merrick Show suggest the other California team. Yeah, that's right. He went out there and he talked about the San Jose Sharks, throwing them into the conversation too. Now, when you take a look at all the teams over here, LA, Anaheim, San Jose, some of them could use centers and others kind of already have a ton, so you might have to trade one of those in an Eichel acquisition. But for Anaheim, I mean, if you have Trevor Zegras playing on the wing instead of center, you could have yourselves a really nice pairing over there. 2 American guys doing their thing on the top line. For LA, we've already spoken about them a ton, but they've got QB, Turcotte, Vilardi, obviously you still have Deneau and Kopitar here too. So if you're going to make a trade for Eichel, you'd probably have to give up one of your young centers, especially since the Sabres do indeed want futures in an acquisition over here. That's what Elliotte Friedman said, that he is adamant they want futures. He saw a suggestion earlier that the Flames would offer Gaudreau and Tkachuk for Eichel, and he says that's the type of thing that would make 0 sense for Buffalo because they want prospects and because they want draft picks. Further on to Elliotte Friedman, he said this on the Jeff Merrick Show the other day as well, that the Calgary Flames were indeed among the teams that tried really hard to acquire Eichel this summer. He also indicated not once did anyone say to him that Eichel would not go to Calgary. He also did not think the Sabres could swing a deal with the Golden Knights because the latter did not want to part with a promising center in Peyton Krebs. That is another one of the guys that's been thrown around in these conversations over here. I will say, though, even though you could say, okay, it's Peyton Krebs, come on, I like Peyton Krebs, but Eichel, man, it's Jack Eichel. If you're trading Krebs for Eichel, you are likely to win this trade in the long run. And I get it, that's probably how it goes, but we've already spoken about this. With Vegas, it's tough because they've already traded away so many prospects that they have drafted, developed, and actually nurtured into NHL players that it would be kind of ridiculous for them to get rid of Krebs too. Now, I know the optics of that isn't really a good enough deterrent, I guess, to say you would never do an Eichel trade with Krebs, but think about it. All of their draft picks at the beginning of their tenure, Cody Glass, Nick Suzuki, Eric Bronstrom, all gone. And yeah, they acquired some really good players out of those trades, but still, Vegas certainly isn't a young team, nor do they really have a high amount of top-tier talented prospects. Krebs is one of the only ones that they have. And so it's easy to see why they're kind of reluctant, but still you have to talk about it. What's to say that sometime down the line they don't bite when Eichel is still on the block and the Golden Knights are 1 point away from being a President's Trophy candidate? We have ourselves what also was the 32 Thoughts article. The second thought over here on the most recent piece talks about Jack Eichel. This is also from Friedman, by the way. On Jack Eichel, there is a real push to find a solution, because Eichel's displaced disc cannot be allowed to just sit on the nerve. He's going to need a procedure sooner rather than later. What's helped is that he is getting his own MRIs, so he and his representatives can share proper information. That's a big deal. More difficult to answer is whether or not he is traded first, or if he gets the surgery, returns to health, and plays games for the Sabres to regain his trade value. No one will go on record, but there is a growing belief that teams are willing to accept Eichel's preferred disc replacement instead of the Buffalo preferred fusion neck surgery. However, you have to be able to make the trade first. There's definitely a push to get him healthy, which should be the #1 priority. So, talk to me in the comments. What do you think about the Jack Eichel situation over here? We're getting more info. Things are starting to leak out that the team is starting to share his medical records with other NHL clubs. The Rangers appear to be on board with the surgery that Eichel wants, but it's not really imminent that they're in on a trade so far. LA, Anaheim, and San Jose have all been called out as potential teams, and we had the word earlier from teams like Calgary and Vegas that one of them was super involved and the other was reluctant to depart with Peyton Krebs. There are a whole bunch of conversations over here, but if you are indeed a fan of any of these teams, let me know in the comments. Do you still want to go after Eichel just after everything has gone down? Like, I mean, we're already in the middle of October. No, not middle. We're like a week away from the middle of October. And the Eichel situation is as bad as it's ever been. He is likely not going to play too many games in 2021-2022. He is likely not going to play in the Olympics. And it's all because the Buffalo Sabres dragged this out so far that he still hasn't had a surgery. It's already the beginning of this season. And what? It's going to be almost a full calendar year before Eichel plays a single NHL game again. Like, just think about it like that. They unnecessarily took away so much out of this guy's career because they didn't want to give him the surgery that he wanted. So now, I guess we're just trying to speed things up so that he comes back as soon as possible. Talk to me in the comments if you're a fan of any of these teams. I hope you enjoyed this video. And also, check out ExpressVPN, the best secure way to browse the internet with data encryption technology. If you're a fan of this YouTube channel, go ahead and click the link in the description. You can get 3 free months. Find out how. Talk to me in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.